Hi, welcome. Hope Zvara here, creator of Core Functional Fitness, and I'm here to take you through a practice today honoring the stability of our hips and sacrum. For many people, for many reasons, we're finding that we have a lot of hip and sacral issues, be it that we sit long term, have poor standing and body mechanics, or for women, if you've recently had a baby and maybe either have not seeked out proper care afterwards, you're finding that you're having a lot of, a lot of hip and SI joint issues due to labor and delivery, but then also the load of carrying that growing little baby long term afterwards can definitely wreak havoc on your body. So today's practice is about creating stability in the pelvis and in the sacrum so that you can move forward and do all the things that you need to in your everyday life. We're going to begin down on our back, and you'll need a green ball or a mini ball in order to work some of the practice today. If you don't have a mini ball, a block will work okay as well, or even rolling up a towel and maybe just rubber banding it, something that you can compress your legs in on. So let's come onto our back. And we're going to start with bent knees, placing that mini ball between the knees themselves, and then find your feet comfortably away from your sitting bones. Back body is broad. If you need to, please use a head support. And then narrow your footing so your feet are slightly closer than the outer width of your hip. Finally, neutral pelvis. Pubis bone, hip bones are parallel with the ceiling. There is a curve under the back. And then just re-broaden out the upper back so the rib cage relaxes down comfortably. On the exhalation, trying to contract those pelvic floor muscles. So tailbone to pubis bone, sit bone to sit bone, makes a diamond-like shape. So you want to think about contracting up those bathroom muscles. This isn't a glute squeeze. The glutes may contract as an aftermath of that pelvic floor contracting. Grounding through your feet, think about moving from the hip socket. So exhale, squeezing on the ball about 50 to 80% of your capacity, more or less, and then release it out gently. You should not be pushing your back into the floor or hunching your shoulders as an aftermath of that engagement. So exhale, contract, and inhale, release, keeping the pelvis stable. Exhale, contract both legs, and inhale, release. So 7 more. Hold for about a 3 count hold. You should feel your tummy muscles co-contract. One more. Nice job. All right, neutral pelvis again. So picking the feet up off the floor. Now if you're feeling a little unsteady or maybe feeling a little weak in the core, you can also place your feet on a chair or against the wall. Keeping neutral pelvis again. My lower back has not pushed into the floor. Super important to pay attention to. You can also set a second block or ball between the ankles if you feel like you lack the perception of keeping the feet in place. So again, exhale, hug the legs. Should feel that co-contraction in your core. Inhale, release. Exhale, contract. If it's more appropriate, feel free to keep the heels together. Exhale, press. And inhale, release. I'm visualizing that it's from my hip that's bringing the legs together, not just from my knee. Exhale, press. And inhale, release. Exhale, contract pelvic core. We can do the movement, or you can really think about the movement. Exhale, 5 more. Slowly lower the legs down. Again, feet are a comfortable distance, slightly more narrow than the outer hip, and my heels are not tucked up under my glutes. They're far enough away you can see, with my block here, you can see the distance from my fingertips to my heels is quite a bit away. We're going to lift into a bridge, but we want to keep the groin open and the body in a nice neutral. So it's not going to be a high bridge. We're not going to even tuck the shoulders. Pressing firmly through the feet. Deep breath in. With neutral pelvis, exhale, launch your body up off the floor. So my body is at an angle. I'm going to try to consider keeping that nice pelvic neutral or a little bit of a tip where your pubis bone is moving towards the ceiling gently. So if your booty starts dropping down because you're tired, you're going to feel that in your lower back. All right, keeping steady and stable, even if I'm just as high as the width of my stacked fingers, totally appropriate. Exhale, press in, and inhale, release out. If your feet are too wide, you're gonna feel like you're going knock-knee. So you want your feet slightly more narrow than what your knees are wide. So when you press in, you're pressing into kind of a neutral leg. Exhale, press, and inhale, release, 6 more. When you engage, if you're in neutral and doing what you're supposed to be doing, you should automatically feel your glutes contract on their own. Exhale, press, and inhale, release, 3 more. About a 3-count hold. Last one. Nice job, drop it down. All right, readjust the back body. So now we're gonna go through that same sequence again, except we're gonna practice moving only one leg. So if this was my right leg, and this was my left leg, I'm only gonna move the left leg into the right leg. So the right leg is resisting, the left leg is moving. So a nice stability challenge again to really help the sacrum and help the hips know what they're supposed to do. So we're gonna start on the floor. Pelvic neutral, back body is broad. I'm going to keep what would be your right leg nice and steady. Pressing into the foot, right leg doesn't move, it resists. Exhale, dive the left leg in and release. Exhale, shoulders stay relaxed and release. This is also really great pelvic floor work because when we move our legs or our femurs and our hip sockets, it's also affecting our pelvic floor. Exhale, press. Again, we're only resisting with one leg. Exhale, press. Breathe. One more. All right, opposite side. So steady your left leg. It's in neutral. It's not swing out to the left. Exhale, press the right leg in. And release. What you might be finding is that your more unstable side is definitely feeling that. Remember again, you're not pressing your back into the floor to try to make the movement happen. You have to do this in neutral so we can start building up the right muscles. Exhale, press, and inhale, release. 4 more. All right, we're going to go back and work with 2-to-1 ratio today. Really important, especially if you do have an SI joint issue. Many times it's on one side. You're going to go back to the weaker one and do that a second time. So for me, that's actually keeping my left leg stable and working my right leg. For you, it might be the opposite. And with 2-to-1 ratio, I'll do 10, but you don't have to. So if you can start, if you find that only doing 5 is going to be appropriate, then just do 5. But if we can do the weaker side just a few more times on the stronger, we're going to build up that weaker side so that eventually we can balance out the body within about 5%. Exhale, press, and inhale, release. Just press with one leg, 5 more. More does not equal better. We're not looking for a death squeeze. We're looking for a functional, mindful movement. 1 more. Nice job. All right, if you need to, just let the pelvis tilt a few times. And then back to neutral. Re-broaden the upper back. Again, if you need to, use a head support, especially if your head is tipping backwards. Shoulders relax down, pelvic floor contracts, float the legs to a tabletop. Now you can bring the heels together, that's fine, otherwise let the feet float comfortably. If you need to, feet on the chair or on the wall. All right, here we go. We're gonna press in only with the left leg. Exhale, press. I'm gonna bring my heels together. Inhale, release. Exhale, press. Inhale, release. If you feel like 10 is too many as just an overall number, do 8, do 5, do 6. Exhale. If you touch your center, it should be co-contracting. This is about the core as well, stability. Pelvic floor engages. 3 more. Keeping neutral, lower the feet down. I'm just going to take a break. We'll take a break in between every one of these here just to give yourself a moment. Whatever you choose to do, I want you to do it well. We're beyond the point now where just doing something for the sake of doing something is good enough. I want you to refine and really be in your body. So again, pelvic neutral, float the legs up. Bring the heels together if you'd like to. If not, stick a second prop in between. All right, stabilize the opposite leg. We're going to press in. Exhale, press. Inhale, release. Shoulders relaxed. Feel free again. You touch your center. You should feel that contracted. 5 more. If you start feeling weak and starting losing neutral, I want you to stop. Even if you just hold and breathe. 2 more. Lower the feet down. Take a moment for yourself. Think about which side was more challenging, that you feel like you lack that stability. Don't worry about what you did in the first exercise. I want you to go into this one and think about that. All right, I'm going to do 10, but feel free. Anywhere from 5 to 8 is a great goal. If you need to touch down in between and join us again, you're welcome to do that. All right, neutral pelvis, relax the ribs. Exhale, bring it up. Inhale. Exhale, stabilize the one leg as you dive the opposite knee in. Soft jaw. So this is halfway point. This is 5. You're going to keep joining me. 5 more. No rectus pufus. Keep the core contracting. We're not sucking in. We're just utilizing our muscles as is. 2 more. You're doing a great job. Last one. And then slowly lower the feet down. Let the pelvis rock a few times. We're not squeezing the glutes. We're just allowing the pelvis to move like swishing water in a bowl. And then bring it back to center. Over time, instability in the pelvis and hips, chronic SI joint misalignment, can definitely feed up and end up with shoulder issues, neck issues, even knee and foot issues. So needing stability before mobility is a key component to any good functional practice. All right, so now there's that bridge. Remember, the feet are going to be slightly closer. We're not tucking. We're not going old school yoga. We're bringing our body into the 21st century here and honoring it. All right, nice neutral pelvis. Bring the feet a little bit closer. Ground through the foot. You don't have to lift high. Exhale, press yourself up. So again, modestly, about as high as your fingers are stacked. Maybe a little bit higher, but again, we're trying to keep that angled neutral. Press firmly into your right leg. That right leg's not going to move. Hips are going to stay level, like you have a marble in your belly button. Exhale, dive the left leg in. 10 times. Watch that you're not dropping the booty. Last one. Great job. All right, we're going to try to just stay upright here. Nice neutral. Ground through the opposite leg. Here we go. Exhale, dive the right leg in. And release. As you dive the leg in, you may be getting some additional glute work. Again, we're moving from the socket. We're challenging all those attachments. Exhale, dive in. Inhale, release it out. My opposite leg is resisting. 4 more. You may have to really think about it. This is why it's called mindful movement. Last one. All right, to the weaker side. Here we go. Exhale, press. And inhale, release. Hips are level. Again, I like to use my fingers as a guide. You're going to 10, 7 more. Hips remain steady. 3 count hold. And last one. Nice job. Bring it down slow. Remove the ball and just gently guide the knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice hug. Pause here. All right, so you have 2 options here. You can use your mini ball, which is a little bit more of an unstable surface, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Or you're going to use a block, or you can just be flat on the floor. So you have lots of options here. Using the block, use the lowest level. Slide it underneath your sacrum, okay? So lower back is free. Gently extend the left leg out with pelvic neutral. Slowly bring the right knee in. Clasp underneath the hamstring or above the shin. Feel free to hold a towel or a strap if you need go-go gadget arms. Now, keeping my pelvis from shifting, I'm going to reach out and down through my straight leg's heel. Even if the knee is bent, I'm going to still try to create some space. It's like I'm pulling Barbie's leg off of the pelvis, but not moving Barbie. Once I create that length in the lower leg, slowly start to bring the bent knee in, kind of like you're driving a stick shift car. I'm just going to pull the leg in to the point where I start to feel an initial stretch. More does not equal better. Let's try to build up better communication with our body, that we feel the smallest, most subtlest things. And then hold that and breathe. Again, pelvis stays level and steady. Slowly release your bent leg. Slowly bend up your straight leg. Again, hips are level. Extend out. What was your bent leg? We're not being pulled crooked. You're trying to pull the leg out of the pelvis. Unstick the sticky glue. And then slowly start to bring the opposite knee in. Clasp hold. As you reach out through the lower heel and anchor it down continuously, you're just going to bring the bent knee into the point that you feel that initial stretch. Stop there. And then slowly, as that dissipates, bring the knee closer in. Now, if you have really tight hip flexors and you're noticing now grabbing what was once the straight leg, you feel like there's a big tennis ball in the groin, it's because that tissue now has expanded. Roll the thigh muscle out when you bring the leg up, and that will kind of bring some more length in there. And that should get rid of that kind of tennis ball-like feeling. Inhale through the nose, and exhale through the nose. Slowly release the bent knee. Take up the straight leg. And now, whichever side was more restricted, you're going to go back to that side again. For me, it's my right. I'm going to slide out the right leg. Keeping the pelvis steady, bring up what would now be the bent knee. I can clasp under the hamstring. Use what you need to. I have long arms, so the shin is close for me. As I reach out through the lower leg, trying to keep the knee and toes vertical, slowly draw the bent knee in. It's not about how close you get the bent knee. It's about keeping the length through the lower leg. For some people, if this was a block, they might find that just lifting the foot up or putting your foot on a chair Maybe not even bringing the knee in, that's too much. You try to go about 3 or 4 more breaths. And then slowly release that leg. I'm going to watch out for my ball here. And then bring up the opposite foot. Nice job. Lift your hips and remove the block. And just take a moment, keeping your ribs down. Draw the arms overhead. And let the knees staple together. Take a few breaths here. Just cultivate patience and breathe in your body. Slowly bring the arms down. Roll to your side. Gently bring yourself up. Tabletop position. I'm going to move my props off to the side here. And mind you, I'm putting my glasses back on. All right, so nice neutral pelvis. Rib cage is drawn up comfortably. Extend out one leg off to the side. So I'm actually going to shift over just a little bit to make sure that you can see me okay. I'm going to plant my foot to the floor outside its hip. Firm up through the thigh muscle. Keep neutral pelvis, not to drop the belly or round the back. The goal is not to sit to the back heel. It's to go as far back as you can keep neutral. So exhale, sitting back. And inhale, rising up. Exhale, sitting back. Maybe you're only going to go a quarter of the way, but that's your quarter of the way. Not to sit so far back that the foot flies up or that you lose that contraction through the straight leg. You're probably feeling some inner thigh work, but the bonus is you're also working through the sacrum, the glutes, and the hamstring attachments. Just because you don't feel something so intensely doesn't mean it's not happening. For many of us, we've become so desensitized in our bodies. It's kind of like the client that says to the massage therapist, I only like really deep tissue work. Learn to feel the subtle things. One more. Gently pick up the leg, slide it in. I'm just going to scooch back onto my mat. Opposite leg. Take it out. Plant the foot. Folds of the elbows forward. No dropping or rounding. Firm up on the straight leg. Back toes can be rolled under or unrolled. It's just a personal preference. Exhale, sitting back. And inhale, bringing it back up again. Just because you're not feeling a super intense stretch doesn't mean the movement has no value. Remember, things are extending, stretching, contracting, even when you're not feeling that super intense action. One more. Mindfully bring the leg back in. All right, so we're going to do that tighter side or that more challenged side a second time. For me, it's my right leg. Plant the foot. Folds of the elbows forward, broad back, not to be confused with hunching. Here we go. Neutral, super important. I'm only going as back as I can keep from tucking or dropping. The compensation. The goal is not the heel. We're going to try for 10. Five more. No saggy head. One more, nice job. And bring the leg in. All right, I'm going to scooch off to the side again just to make sure that you can see me. Bring again your first leg out to the side. Flex the foot, really important. We're trying to utilize the outer hip, not use the groin. So make sure the foot stays parallel with the floor. Minimizing the leaning to the opposing shoulder, let's press away from the floor, neutral rib cage, neutral spine. Flex the foot, resting on the inside of the leg. So for many of you, maybe it'll be your right leg. Deep breath in, and let's see if we can pick the foot up and go 5 breaths. If you need to, just touch down and then lift again. Slowly swing it in. All right, so when you're extending the leg out, make sure again you're not turning the leg up. If you're feeling groin work, your thigh is not parallel or your leg is not parallel with the floor. All right, opposite side. We're in a nice neutral tabletop. We're trying to avoid the shift. There's some oblique work here. All right, flex the foot, inhale, and exhale. Just an inch off the floor. Bring it in. Nice job. We're going to go back to the weaker and more challenged side, even if you're only holding for a breath or two. Watch as well that as you get tired, the arms don't rotate in towards the body where you're trying to go chest dominant. I want you to shift the strength into your lower body, obliques, upper back, glutes, and hips. All right, here we go. Back to that weaker side. Inhale, rest on the inside of the foot. And exhale, pelvic core contracts. 5 breaths if you can. If not, touch down and take a moment. It's not an all or nothing. And then bring it back in. Nice job. All right, so we're going to come onto our back again. Take your time, move slow. And just draw the knees into the chest. Give yourself that gentle hug. And then set the feet back to the floor again. Neutral pelvis. Broaden out the upper back so the rib cage relaxes down. And again, if you need head support, feel free to grab it. Extend up your right leg with neutral pelvis. Roll the ankle. And then cross the ankle over the knee. So most of you probably know this pose, figure 4 stretch. Lace the right arm through. I'm going to do the same leg as you. And then grab underneath the left hamstring of the left shin. Now if you have shorter arms, grab something on. If you need to, place your bottom foot on a block. As you grab hold of the legs initially, the lower back is going to probably sink into the floor. Once you get the appropriate clasp, tip the pelvis back into neutral. So basically you're going to tip your lower back off the floor, which may be a game changer in how you feel the stretch. Trying to keep the left leg, the lower leg, on the left side of the mat, or the left side of your body. As you choose to bring the legs in, try to keep the pelvis from scooching up to one side. So as you bring it in, you're also pushing it down. Think about trying to bring your sitting bones down onto the floor. If as a result, your head picks up off the mat, you need something under your head, maybe even your shoulders, in order to maintain this. Breathe. So again, although this is a stretch, if you're not bringing forth the stability elements of the stretch, that's where, again, are we really helping? Breathe. And then slowly release that out. Nice job. Uncross the leg. Let's try the opposite side. Leg comes up, roll the ankle. And then cross the ankle over the knee. As you grab for the lower leg, the lower back may sink into the floor momentarily. That's fine. Once you clasp hold, give a little flex to the feet and keep the lower leg on its side of the body. As you bring the leg in, tip the lower back off the floor into neutral. It's like I'm trying to keep my glute cheeks connected to the floor. So if you feel your booty way up off the mat, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. It's the wrong kind of deep. And now move your breath down into your pelvis. And then release that out slow. Take a moment, pause. And we are going to go back to that tighter side. And so leg comes up. For me, that's my left. Cross the ankle. If you need help, roll the thigh muscle out. You're trying to remind that femur bone that it's rotating in its hip socket. And then bring it up. Lengthen the lower back. As you choose to bring the knee in, keep thinking about trying to tip the bottom of your pelvis down towards the floor. Feel length in your spine and breath moving freely. Relax your shoulders. And then slowly release it out. Keeping the rib cage relaxed, just reach the arms overhead. Now let the back arc. Slowly release the arms down. Now walk the feet just a pace or two wider than your outer hip and let the knees staple together. If by chance the knees don't touch, set something between the knees, just to be able to support that gap in space. As the knees staple together, constructive rest pose. See if you can focus on fully relaxing your legs and pelvis, that the only reason the legs are staying up is the force against each other. Keeping the rib cage down, gently let the arms rest overhead. If your shoulder girdle is pretty locked up, why don't you go cactus arms or even T. Close the eyes and we'll take the next several rounds of breath, restoring the body. Feel the broadness of the sacrum, the gentle curve of the spine. And again, continue to surrender into your legs, your groin, your pelvic floor. Let go of any struggle. slowly bring the arms back down to your sides. Gently walk the feet over to one side and roll off. Using your top hand securely, press yourself up and bring yourself back to a seated position. Great job today. So if you find yourself really struggling in your hips and pelvis, or maybe you don't even have any issues hereof, but you find that this has been a really effective practice, great, continue with it. If you have a question about it, feel free to leave a question in the comment section below. But I'd love to hear from you. Let me know how you're doing. And don't forget to like or share this video. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my YouTube channel. More subscriptions equals more great videos. From my heart to yours, from my soul to yours, have a great day. Namaste.